know. Good morning. Happy Tuesday. It's actually Tuesday. I'm just as confused as you are because Ed Greer is with us today. Spencer Gilbert.
I clapped when I said Ed Greer.
That was weird.
Dan Merle is here. We're all here. We're ready to talk about Venom, among other things. We have a number of entertainment newses for you today. We have gathered them from the internet. So strap on in and let's talk about how Venom's success is going to impact Spider-Man.
Keep going.
You're just full disappointment in me. Is amazing. This is via Business Insider and Screen Rant. So we all know that Venom is the box office success that will not be stopped. It's killing it at the box office, biting the heads off the competition. Other puns, Dan.
Yes.
That's for our show on Mondays. So now the question had been, would Sony return the rights to Spider-Man to Marvel, right? Mm-hmm. Because if they weren't finding success on their own with the ancillary characters, then maybe that was a possibility that they would sell the rights back to Marvel. Well, people say no longer is that going to be a reality because this has been such a success for them. According to exhibitor relations senior box office analyst from Business Insider, Jeff Brock, if they, Jeff.
No relation.
Oh, and like
Eddie Brock. Yeah. Come on, Roth.
Just knock, knock.
Knock, knock. It's Eddie Brock with
the block. Knock, knock. Venom's got a...
I'm in a drop top.
Venom. I'm in a Ford Taurus with Eddie Brock.
I still want the one random line about Kim. Venom biting the head off Kim. Here's what he said. Here's what Jeff, no relation to Eddie, said. If it had failed, there's a chance Sony would have definitely returned the bargaining table with Disney. Now that's up in the air. Sony took a calculated risk with Venom, and it's going to be a series, period. Agreed. We know exactly what's coming next. It seems that Disney needs Sony's Spider-Man more than Sony needs Disney. Let's settle down. If they consistently make films audiences want to see, Disney will have to buy Sony to get Spider-Man back. Don't think it's out of the realm of possibility, Jeff. This is just the beginning of Sony's reemergence as a studio of box office distinction. They're not giving that up without a fight. That seems fair. Comscore senior analyst Paul Dergabajan concurred and said, $500 million in revenue for Venom worldwide proves that this is no fluke, and despite a critical, God damn it.
It looks to me, and I'm not, look, I don't know the man, but it looks to me spelled as Dergarabedian.
Dergarabedian.
You just went Debarsion.
That's because
you just failed completely.
When you say a complicated name very quickly, then no one notices until Spencer points it out. It sounds like a D&D character, right? Like he sounds like he's at the gates with a spell that you have to purchase with magic
It's
points.
weird for me because literally every week in the box office stories, Paul Dergarabedian is the person that's quoted. So for me, it's like I just see it as like Smith because I read that name every single week when I'm reading the news.
You just Adele Dazeemed the whole time. Just 20 seconds.
Debarsion.
All right, that last
I would like
minute,
to say Paul Dergarabedian has been doing great box office analysis for a very long time.
Yeah, we're very proud
And
of
great
him.
work with the Three Musketeers.
Yeah. D'Artagnan. Yes, slightly.
Paul D'Artagnan backed up Eddie Brock's statement by saying, Jagarabedian. There you go. He said $500 million in revenue for Venom worldwide proves that this is no fluke, and despite a critical drubbing, the film has found great favor with audiences who are fully vested in Spider-Man brand, as well as their embracing of Tom Hardy, blah, blah, blah. Fair enough. But so probably won't be a full return to the MCU, but he's already clearly connected to the MCU. So what does that mean creatively for Spidey and or using Spider-Man with these other characters like Venom and whoever else, maybe Carnage in the future? Dan Merle, weigh in immediately. The nation needs you.
I think Sony can. I actually think Sony can have their cake and eat it too here.
We voted today, by the way.
Oh, yes, I did. We voted.
I voted early and often.
Yes. Uh-oh. Fake news.
I was bussed in with my Antifa friends. We voted 7 times each.
I would say I missed you. And I did, but then you're so much like a sibling to me.
Aww.
Our relationship feels that way to me.
Cute.
There's so much love there.
Underneath.
Well, no, it's on top. And then also mixed in.
Mixed in.
You were saying, Dan.
Dan?
Yes. I think Sony can have their cake and eat it too because I was reading. I think I've plugged this on charting, but there's a great box office analyst for China, which is it's tough to find that information sometimes. Named Gavin Feng, who I follow on Twitter, who is able to sort of, give some analysis because Venom opens in China this weekend, saying that for the Chinese opening, it's tracking on par with Spider-Man: Homecoming as far as the opening numbers. So, and it's done really well internationally. I think that there is a chance where they can continue to share because Venom is doing really well internationally, but it's not like Avengers money. And I don't know what the profit sharing is with Sony and Disney as far as like when Spider-Man is in an Avengers movie. I would imagine they get something.
So I think that the profit sharing, and Billy, if we can't, this might not be public, but I believe the profit sharing is with Spider-Man only, but not any of the ancillary, like not Venom and not any of the ancillary.
But I mean,
Spider-Man
like
characters.
when Spider-Man is in a Avengers movie.
Yeah, how much does Sony get?
How much does Sony get versus, obviously Spider-Man: Homecoming is a Sony movie, and I'm sure Disney gets some of that, but also Sony gets the line. I don't know the division of labor. What I'm saying is I'm sure that it's beneficial to a point with Sony to have this Disney deal with Spider-Man. So the question is, would Sony now, with the success of Venom, say, we're pulling Spider-Man out of the Disney films because we want to keep him now because this is our franchise? I think that Venom has shown that it is a viable franchise outside of including Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I think that Sony can build a franchise with Venom and potentially other characters that they can then spin out and be successes, as well as keeping the deal with Disney that I don't know the terms of, but I would think that they get that it's probably fairly beneficial to them to have Spider-Man involved in a hugely successful series of movies like the Avengers films, particularly in Phase 4. What are we going into Phase 4? If Spider-Man is as featured as it seems like he's going to be in the MCU. I don't know why it's an either or. If he comes back,
It looks like from what the deal is, Sony finances, distributes the movie. They keep like Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Right.
They keep that money, but Marvel still has the merchandising rights to Spider-Man, so it behooves them to put Spider-Man in their films to sell the merchandise.
The other question too, and I think you're right, Dan, but they're also producing partners, so however that works is another question in terms of rates and things like that. But the merchandising alone is valuable to Disney. That said, if Sony's trying to pull back and if they're starting to get into a little bit of a pissing contest, will Spider-Man be the character they push forward to be the centerpiece of the MCU moving forward, or will it be another character that they fully own and operate? Thoughts, Spencer and Ed?
Thoughts?
I don't really see that. I don't really see that happening. I don't really see them. Whatever is going to make everybody the most money. What I see happening is a couple more Venom movies. Tom Hardy gets tired, wants to go do Taboo 3 or whatever,
Inevitably.
he wants to go act somewhere else. And so they own the character who's quite successful, has made 3 movies that have made reasonable money. And they can do with that what they want. They can introduce that to the Marvel Universe proper and be like, oh, now we got symbiotes that came out of the sky. In the Marvel Universe, they've been to space a gang of times, so they could play the symbiote angle. The people who, these Mountain Dew drinkers that like Venom, I'm just joking. But, but like... But honestly, whether he's a symbiote from space or some spam in a can, they're going to like Venom either way. So it doesn't matter if he fits into the Marvel Universe proper in a way that's intelligent and organic, or if they just kind of throw him in there and redo his origin over. It doesn't matter. The aesthetic of the character is there.
But they're also
like
going to
that.
get into the other villains. I think that's what they're going to double down on now. Not only are they going to have the follow-up to Venom, which they certainly will, and they've set that up very clearly in the end credit sequence, but they're probably going to get into, he has an entire, 3 million rogues to choose from?
Are they dusting off the Sinister Six
They are
movie that
dusting
was
them.
in a drawer somewhere?
And Black Cat and Silver Sable and the whole nine.
But Sinister Six really only works with Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Venom, even though his origin is so inextricably linked to Spider-Man, they did it. They divided Peter Parker from the symbiote for the first time in the continuity history. They did a great job of divorcing him totally from Spider-Man, and I don't see them backtracking on that anytime soon.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
Good.
I think that they found that they have a franchise that is entirely based on Tom Hardy. Even people that
And
liked the
Michelle
movie,
Williams wig.
and Michelle Williams wig. Even people that liked the movie, I think, would say that the things that didn't work were all of the sort of stock standard comic book things. The big bad third battle things blasting in the sky. Why it worked was because of Tom Hardy. And if they're smart, which I know if you wait for studios to be smart, you'll be waiting for a long time. But if they are smart, the second one, I hope, particularly, I don't want to spoil, but with the actors that they have set, Tom Hardy and the actor that they have cast for him to
And he's just using that word randomly.
match up with, come on. I think if they let them just go crazy, as they're both capable of, knowing that that's what worked in the first movie, I would think that it could be something that Tom Hardy might want to do for a while, because he is allowed to act.
Yeah.
Because he is allowed to go crazy. He's not completely constrained like Michelle Williams was in the stock role
Well,
that
she had
played.
a parasite on her head.
True, but I hope that they allow themselves to let this franchise go as weird and crazy as it's capable of being, because I think that's where their road lies. And then I agree with Ed. You don't need Spider-Man. It's its own thing.
What I hope for this, you've seen it
Yes.
now, Spencer? Okay, so what I hope for the next one is that 15 minutes of insanity, they just triple down on that with the other insane entity involved.
Yeah.
But then after that is the question. And that's when I do think they are going to start doubling down on these other villains and maybe leading eventually to a Sinister Six, which is the only point that they would include Spider-Man.
I have to say, Ed, by the way, people are okay with you not liking Venom, but you crossed a line with the Mountain Dew fans in the chat. There's staunch defense of Mountain Dew in this chat right now.
I mean,
Look, I'm not trying to be classist, and dude, when I need a boost, Mountain Dew does a good job.
Yeah,
Ding.
we want to
But
360 no scope some
Yeah.
noobs on Modern Warfare was the drink of choice. I think if you turn in enough box tops, you get a vape.
I mean,
I did have a time where I was addicted to Mountain Dew. I've been there. They had it in a fridge in college, and I drank like 16 of them, and it was horrible but great.
In a row?
Not in a row, but like in a
row?
very short amount of time. And I was like, I'm addicted. I have to kick this like a junkie.
Doesn't it have
Well, here's
like
a bucket for
5
vomitus.
million times the caffeine as like crack?
Oh, it's
or
bad.
Is that the,
yes,
Yeah,
that's how math works.
that's how math works, too.
We're gonna talk about
Meth has a lot of caffeine.
isn't one of the main components of meth Mountain Dew?
Yeah.
Am I wrong about that?
There was
Yeah,
there
you watched
was a
Breaking
study
Bad.
that Mountain Dew can kill healthy sperm cells, so it is a form of birth control, I suppose.
That's how the blue meth. That's why it was blue.
Yeah.
It was Arctic Frost Mountain Dew. Breaking Bad. That's how it got the color.
but one last thing I would like to touch on this story, please. It was.
It's so parliamentary. I love it. I love that.
If the court may,
Yes.
if you will.
No, okay. In the script here that Billy worked so hard on, there's a part that says maybe they would loan out Spider-Man to the MCU. Maybe they would make Spider-Man movies on their own as well in conjunction with them, because theoretically they could. I think that's really interesting. And I wish somebody would have the balls to do that. Be like, okay, Disney, you did a good job doing your version, but I'm going to do a weird, gritty Spider-Man that could fight Venom for a couple movies. A weird, world travel guy Spider-Man that has all kind of nutso James Bond adventures.
I mean, that's
my
interesting.
Sony Spider-Man that I want to do.
Aren't they doing Into the Spider-Verse?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have an animated
Yeah.
Spider-Verse.
So that's what I'm saying. I just think that's interesting. That is something we didn't touch on that I just wanted to touch on. Like, that would be very interesting if Sony just leaned into, I could do my own versions of these things in animation or in other.
Well, they are. I mean, they are with Into the Spider-Verse, to
Yeah.
your point. And
Or to make that a franchise, because that seems like we're going to try real hard to make an animated movie and make Americans go see animated movies that aren't Pixar or Disney. But I think it could be way more than that.
That
What-
could be an interesting experiment to set for Sony to sort of say, hey, you've got Tom Holland. We're going to continue to co-produce these Spider-Man movies with him. So that's your Spider-Man, and we're going to pull in maybe not Peter Parker, but we're going to do a sort of Elseworlds
Yeah.
Spider-Man
Yeah.
live-action universe with Venom.
I'm
That'd
into it.
Yeah. That's
Good
kind
call,
of intriguing.
Ed.
It'd be
Or Billy,
weird,
whoever
but
had the
yeah.
idea.
Well, I'm just referencing the script. I'm just-
Billy.
I
Thank
set
you,
him
Billy.
up. You guys knock him down. How about that?
Well, you know what? We solved it. Spider-Man, you're fixed. Because Tom Holland's perfect for the MCU, frankly.
Yeah.
He really is.
He's the audience.
But I love that
Yeah.
idea. That's great, and they can do it. It
grit
makes
and
sense
determination.
I think they call that in canon, Spencer. Is that what they call it? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Screw you. You want to hear about a prequel and a reboot?
At the same time?
Pre-boot.
Maybe. It's a pre-boot. It's actually 2 boots. Puss in Boots and Shrek are getting reboots. So Shrek and Puss in Boots are getting rebooted by Chris Melandri, who is behind Despicable Me, and also The Grinch, which Dan and I saw last night. So there is that. He says the one thing that is sacred ground to him and he will not change is the voice actors if he can. He'd like to get them all back. He says, when you look back on those vocal performances, they're awesome. And while you certainly could make a case for complete reinvention, I find myself responding to my own nostalgic feelings of wanting to go back to those characterizations. The challenge for us has been to find something that really does feel like it's not simply yet another film in the series of sequels. So there's that
Yeah.
coming.
Shrek
So
seems
it's a
so...
reboot, but with the same characters
And the same actors.
Hopefully with the same actors.
Hopefully.
You got to get Eddie Murphy out of the mansion.
So it's
No, you don't. That's the great thing about
you
voice
just
acting.
leave
You
it
don't
in the
have to get Eddie
mansion.
Murphy.
Yeah,
Fair
you
point.
just go to him
Fair
with some equipment.
yeah.
Yeah.
Just mail it to him by Amazon.
Yeah.
Sounds
You
like
gotta send it. You just gotta send a drone.
Yeah.
There've been a
it.
lot of Shreks, man. It's 4 Shreks
4.
and the TV, YouTube, the memes, like,
Yeah.
and it's also to me like so 2000s for me. I know we're still, I don't know what year it is anymore, but like that just really turn of the millennium is Shrek to me of like. Just they're doing the Macarena for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
Like it's a product of its time.
Hey now, you're an all-star
Yes.
at making fun of this movie.
Thank you.
I mean, Shrek was
you.
great, and then it kept going for a really long.
Yeah, and it was and Puss in Boots was super fun, but then even he got a spin-off, right?
He
Yeah.
got his own movie.
He sure
and then
did.
we have the Shrek the TV. I
Yeah.
think every holiday now has a Shrek.
Forgive the imagery, but I think we've milked Shrek. as much
Oh,
as we
yeah.
can. I don't know if you can milk an ogre. I assume you can.
That's a horrible Google
We could do
search.
the. We could
I'm sure
do.
there's images online.
We could do the live action with Heidi Klum and Not Seal.
Oh, that's true.
Interesting. Okay. All right. Live action Shrek on
Live
Broadway,
action-
maybe.
On Broadway.
Don't they have that?
Probably have.
Almost
Probably.
positive they did
Or is
that.
there an
Heidi-
Ice Capades version that we've?
Heidi
haven't done?
Klum, Heidi Klum, and Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Billy, they've done Shrek on Broadway, right?
Shrek does have a Broadway.
I thought so.
What about
tour.
Shrek on Ice? Have they done Shrek on Ice yet?
Oh, Shrek on.
Let me see.
I bet you they have.
Yes, they have.
Oh my God.
There's a Shrek ride. There's a Shrek,
the ride.
attraction
Yeah.
at
Shrek the Halls.
Yep.
Shrek the Halls. There's a Halloween. There's definitely a Halloween Shrek.
More than one video game.
It's just weird because if you're gonna redo it, then redo it. But it's like, hey, we want to reboot it, really make it fresh and new, same characters, same actors.
Dan,
but
I believe you
redo
were
it.
referring to Scared Shrekless.
Scared Shrekless.
There's also the Shrek 4D attraction at Universal Studios.
Yeah. That's a lot of Shrek.
It's a lot of Shrek.
Ogre load.
It's a lot. I don't know.
No scope.
So Universal.
That's a Mountain Dew fueled pun.
Universal has a couple of things that work for them, right? They have
Harry Potter.
they have the Minion,
Universal?
Harry Potter. What
Oh,
do you mean?
Universal World.
Oh,
right?
no. I was like, what planet are we on? No, the studio. Yeah. So
Yes.
Harry Potter's with Warner Brothers.
Right.
The movies. So they have Despicable Me. They have the Minions.
Fast and the
They have the
Furious.
Fast and the Furious.
The Monsters, not Monsters
No,
U,
the Dark
the
Universe.
Dark
is-
Universe.
It's unfortunately gone bye.
Gone.
It's gone
so,
dark.
So I think that's what we're looking at here. We're looking at Universal in a world where they have to compete now with like 21st century Disney, the mouse that rules everything. And then Sony's now making a little play. Paramount had some success this year, not huge, but with The Quiet Place, and then they had Mission. So the point is, Universal's looking and they've got these 2 franchises that are really successful for them and they want more, obviously. And so they're doubling down on Chris Melandri, who delivered for them with Despicable and Minions and all of the Minionites.
They got that. I also.
And these are all the business decisions.
I would
is
like
my
to
guess.
say that I predicted this after Secret Life of Pets because, as Ralph mentioned, we went to see the Grinch yesterday,
Yeah.
and the Illumination card has been upgraded. It is now not just a minion.
Really?
No.
Kevin
got
Hart
that bunny.
is now also is sharing
Got that
card
bunny,
space with
yeah.
the minion. I knew that was going to be their next big play. So yeah, they are definitely looking for every
Possible.
animated IP, but Fast and Furious doing okay. Well,
Yeah. Fast and
they got
we'll see
Hobbs
how
and Shaw
Hobbs
coming
and
out.
Shaw, like the Instagram is keeping us
Yeah.
entertained and committed to the franchise. But yeah, I mean, that's obviously the business reasons behind them creatively.
The Jurassic movies.
Jurassic.
Oh, that's a
they
big
got
one.
the Jurassic.
Although
Yeah.
they only got one more on this cycle
Yeah.
left,
And then we'll see what they do with those dinosaurs.
Do it all over again.
People
Yeah.
soars.
It's about time to remake Jurassic Park.
They're going to do people soars.
People soars.
People soars.
For the
probably.
last one, People Source
People
Rex.
soars.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
At least like some failed experiment in like Wu's
Yeah.
basement or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jurassic Soldier.
Carol me.
Yeah. They've been leading to people source.
Yeah.
Oh, they've been driving us there.
Well, Jurassic World
We-
War is the movie we all want them to make. That
Yeah.
they keep tiptoeing around of like, we got to send these babies into Tora Bora. It's
Yeah.
like, all right.
Do it.
Yeah.
Just
All
do
right.
it. You know,
Go.
like dinosaur v dinosaur v. It's a human sore.
Yeah.
Why can't we
Just do
just
it.
make? Why can't it just end as like How to Train Your Dragon or Dinotopia? Why can't we just get along in the end after
Yeah.
after all this
Well,
fighting?
the first one, it was trying to say that they weren't these killing machines, but
Yeah.
now they're killing machines.
That's
They're
all
all
boring.
definitely, yeah.
That's so boring.
I mean, they're animals. That's
see, yeah,
what they are.
It quickly
You
became
know?
boring that they were just normal, regular animals.
Right.
And then they started, putting
Got up the ante.
Wolverine claws in them and stuff.
Yeah.
You know,
Wait.
It's got a cloaking device.
Yeah.
claws. Nyam, nyam.
And the biology is
It's got
so
a 5 kill
wildly
streak.
confusing.
It's calling a paratrooper.
I don't even.
Yeah.
I've lost track of it. They're monsters.
Yeah.
They're just monsters.
Jurassic
That's all they
Monster.
are.
But
And
anyway,
they close
those
down
are
the ride.
Chris Melandri. What do you think, though? Yeah.
Look, here's my thing. I can't say what I thought of the Grinch, but here's what I can say based on what I've seen of
But you can make a
the
face.
Minions
Don't
of
do that.
Despicable Me and Secret Life of Pets, which is that they are able to execute very good, financially successful animated films that launch great entertainment for kids, that entertain kids, and are great for kids to watch. But Shrek, the thing that I think was the hallmark about Shrek was that it was one of the first animated films that kind of started that whole wave of animated films that are for adults and kids, and they both can enjoy it equally. And I excluding the Grinch, which I cannot give my opinion on yet, I have yet to see an Illumination film that I enjoyed on any level other than kids will like it.
I think
They-
that
they
the
had-
first Despicable Me movie was
maybe the first Despicable Me, but
there was
every,
a kernel of something, and then you're right though. Shrek was so meta and was full of like pop culture jokes. Like that was
But that was super refreshing at the time.
Yes.
They
Yeah.
created something that's now standard.
Shrek was the first Deadpool
Yeah.
I think.
Shrek was the first Deadpool.
movie, although Deadpool was already
Yeah.
very
Ah.
much alive.
That's
yeah,
nice.
I don't know.
Movie,
It
that's-
just it
I
operates
agree.
on a different frequency than I've seen from Illumination, but maybe that means that they'll adjust some of what they do, or it means that they would just turn Shrek into the same kids movie that we see every time Illumination.
I just want to do a dark and gritty reboot of Puss in Boots, where he's just a hardcore like the Dread Pirate Roberts, but like for real. You know what I mean? He's just a badass cat. You don't f with this cat. Like he'll run up your pants leg. You know what I mean? Like he's just hardcore. I would love that as a movie. You know what I mean?
I would be into that.
All right.
Although Puss in Boots was a little bit that.
Oh yeah,
A little
definitely.
bit.
Yeah, I
But
would just
then he would do
lean
the-
hard. Oh, do the eyes.
Do the eyes at you.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's basically a cat.
But like Frank Miller, like Sin City,
Yeah.
like just
Totally
high
dark and
contrast
gritty.
throat rips.
Do you guys, JT, like that one? We heard him from the booth.
Throat rips.
You know what? I'm going to put a pin on that, and we'll talk about that in what I was going to say in our Grinch review.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there, but certainly the financial reasons behind it are clear. We're going to skip one of our stories.
Oh, I was trying to softball you the transition.
I saw it wasn't even.
it's
a
about
softball.
Deadpool, and I was gonna say Shrek is Deadpool.
But tease on that one, you're going to have to come back to tomorrow's show, and we're going to talk about Deadpool.
All right.
But I appreciated that.
Cool.
I really did. Do that more.
Can the thumbnail be "Is Shrek Deadpool"? I feel like we get a lot of clicks.
I think we would not. Yeah, I think we would not, but we'll try it anyway,
All right.
because why the hell not? I'll tell you what we did do, Dan Merle. By we, I mean me. I went to do the junket for The Girl in the Spider's Web, which is the latest in the Lisbeth Salander series. If you guys remember the girl with the dragon's tattoo, pardon me. This took place in Italy a week and a half ago and we talked to the cast, we sourced some fan questions, and we have them here for you now. And then I'm also going to be showing you, one of them comes from Claire Foy, who plays Lisbeth, had such a cute reaction to Pygmy Warrior, who is one of our regular contributors, and I love him, so we wanted to leave that in so you saw that she loved your handle. And we are going to have more later this week because maybe I did a mission in Rome.
Oh.
Maybe I did. And then
What, you thought she didn't have a plan?
Hey Screen Junkies, we're here in beautiful Rome, Italy, on an adventure that began in Berlin for The Girl in the Spider's Web. I'm very excited to be here and talk with the actors about the mission that is movie. Actors about the movie, not the assets about the mission. There's no spy work here at all. We're going to show you a little bit of both of these beautiful cities. And, Cruz had a lot of cocaine today. It's very standard. This is perfectly normal entertainment journalism's business. So we sourced some fan questions for you.
Ooh, great.
Would you like to live your character's life for 1 week, and what would you do?
I would probably do what he does, try to dig deeper and find the truth and get justice.
I'd definitely hack some stuff, and I'd definitely find out about some people, and I'd ride my motorcycle really, really fast and eat as much junk food as humanly possible, and I'd get a couple of piercings and tattoos.
I would go in my little red dress, pick up men and women, have fun with them. Then I kill them.
Sure.
Yeah, I'll do a little Westworld.
Now the world will burn, and everyone will know it was you who lit the match.
What's the key to making a suspense interesting and not at all cliche?
Or have a good director who's in charge of all that.
The key is to get Fede Alvarez on board because he's known to make films with a lot of tension and he's very good at creating the tempo.
What's the most beneficial thing that you learned from Sam Raimi that you also brought into the making of this film?
Making my first films with him, you really learn that. You always keep the audience in mind, and I tend to make movies that try to be crowd pleasers. For the more intellectual audience that really goes like, wait a second, why did this guy did that? I'm like, get out of my theater. Like, this is not for you. To please the audience, to give them an extreme experience is something that I definitely get from Sam.
How does it feel to be an inspiration for so many young girls and women, and what would you tell them?
I don't know whether I am an inspiration for so many young women and girls. Apparently they've told me that I am, so that's very kind of them. I think you just have to sort of stand up for yourself and get your voice heard and support other people who are trying to do that themselves.
It's interesting the way that we conflate characters and the actors who play them, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
I heard you have a personal connection to this character. Can you talk about that a little bit and what you wanted to bring to this portrayal?
Yeah, I live in Sweden, so when the books came out, it totally dominated the Swedish scene. It's great to be a part of making a Swedish story internationally.
You had such a breakout performance in Blade Runner 2049. Why did you want to follow that up with this?
I trained my ass off for that role, so I was so strong and everything was perfect about her. And then looking at Camilla, who was very fragile and damaged, this was another conflicted character that I would love, to get my hands on and just work with.
What's life like in Hollywood, and do you have any advice for a fellow Uruguayan about breaking into filmmaking?
There's no such thing as Hollywood. It's an imaginary place. If you want to break into Hollywood, don't try to break into Hollywood. That's the advice. Trying to break into perverts your intentions and makes you do things that you wouldn't normally do. Just focus on what matters, which is constantly trying to find something interesting to tell.
Pygmy Warrior wants to know.
Oh, hi, Pygmy Warrior. Where are you living in the world?
We've had dragons, spiders, and hornets' nests. What animal should be in the next title of the Lisbeth Salander series, and what should it be called?
The girl in the...
Salamander Salander. Yeah.
The girl that talks to pigs. I think that's a good one. Good question.
Lisbeth's been compared to Lady Batman and Lady Bond. Do you think she has any similarities, or is she dissimilar from these characters?
But she has both, I think.
I mean, it's an action movie, with a lot of emotional elements.
Anything where someone's the lady version of a man, I find really difficult to answer, I'm afraid. She's not either of those things. She's Elizabeth Salander. She doesn't need to be like Batman or Bond.
There's definitely some aspects of her that you could connect with Batman. The fact that she's very good with technology and she's a little bit of a detective herself.
Elizabeth is a person that has some kind of superpower, even if it's more like her knowledge of technology.
She's driven by something so deeply inside herself that is so human. When you give her a title like that, it makes that seem all she is. And she's not. She's so multi-layered and complex.
And definitely this movie has a lot of Bond in it. It does have that kind of bigger-than-life scope, right? That what's at stake is the world.
I'm so protective of her because I feel like labeling her is against anything that she stands for. I would never give her a label because she would absolutely hate that.
To me, she would be those things plus the tech guy, like plus Q and plus M and plus Alfred all in one.
Yeah.
Do you foresee it sort of continuing on with this character and then rebooting again, sort of like Bond?
Hopefully. I think she's a fascinating character, and I think like all these stories, you have to keep telling them. Characters like this that are so iconic. It's refreshing to see her that she doesn't give a
She has been a pioneer as a woman on screen that starts out already being powerful. I think that is such a legacy of Lisbeth Salander, so I hope we'll get to see more.
What one piece of advice would you give about wearing leather couture?
Make sure that you have reinforced seaming around your buttocks in case you want to squat or move in general at any point.
You can't outrun your own shadow.